Hi guys, it's Carrie. Brienne just defined the terms drywall and gypsum board for you, and green board and sheetrock, but just to refresh your memory, green board is a moisture resistant, not moisture retardant surface, and that means that it will absorb moisture out of the air and prevent mold buildup. And sheetrock is a plasterboard made of gypsum layered between sheets of heavy paper. So now we'll talk about standard thicknesses of gypsum board. Standard thicknesses of gypsum board are usually 5/8 of an inch or 1/2 an inch, and they can come in 1/4 inch or 2-inch increments. And the plaster usually has a thickness of 1/16 of an inch or 3/32 of an inch when it's applied to a wall. And she already talked and discussed with you guys the advantages and disadvantages of gypsum and plaster. So I will go on to the next section, which is the specification and formatting information about gypsum and plaster. Just like several of the other sections that people have discussed, the specifications for gypsum and plaster are Part 1, the generals, which are project conditions, Part 2, which are products, materials, accessories, and Part 3 is execution, where it talks about installation. So now we'll discuss more installation methods. Gypsum board is installed fairly easily. The board panel is first set in place and then screwed into a furring channel. The next step is to tape the gypsum board panels into intersections and apply joint compounds. The depressions left by the nails or screws are filled with the joint compound so that you can't see any of the marks if you choose to paint over or finish it. And the joint compound is layered and feathered in progressively wider applications, creating a smooth, flat joint. For gypsum shaft walls, they're installed from outside the shaft, and gypsum board is screwed or nailed into specially shaped studs for furring channels, and the edges of the gypsum board are tapered to accent a paper reinforcing tape or self-adhering fiberglass tape and joint compound like regular gypsum board installation. Stud steel framing is preferred for commercial spaces because they're non-combustible and can quickly be cut and installed with self-drilling screws. I think Brienne already discussed with you the installation methods of plaster, but if you do not remember, plaster is installed by screwing to the substrate and filling the joint with the plaster, and it can be cast plaster ornament and reinforced with fiberglass mats to add strength. And there are 3 different types of plaster, which are gypsum plaster, gypsum veneer plaster, and Portland cement plaster. And gypsum plaster can take up to 30 days to fully cure. Gypsum veneer plaster is applied in 1 to 2 thin coats, and Portland cement plaster, also called stucco, is the 3rd type and can be applied over masonry or concrete and can be done by hand or machine. And it's ideal for wet or humid interior spaces and can be used as an exterior finish as well. Really quick, I just want to touch on paper tape that is used in gypsum installation. And this is a joint tape that conceals and reinforces the gypsum board joints. And the tape is buffed on both sides to ensure the best working qualities and bond. And a center creasing process allows easy folding for use at corners. A bead is something that's used in the gypsum board installation also, and mud joint compound is what fills in the imperfections that nails or screws have left in the gypsum board. Contractor's mud is again just another type of compound used to fill in the imperfections of gypsum during installation. Now we'll talk about the cutting procedure. You have to measure out the wall, which you'd like the drywall installed, and you cut it with a T-square and a utility knife. You cut on the front side of the sheet, and then you snap the drywall in the opposite direction and sand down the rough edges. To be sure, also cut holes for items such as outlets and light switches so that you're not like last minute trying to find out how to fit that light switch in the right place. Plaster is almost always finished, has a finish over it, but what you really have to worry about sealing is the plaster. Oh, I'm sorry, gypsum board always has a finish over it, that's what I meant. And what you really have to worry about sealing is the plaster because it's very porous, so it has to be sealed or finished so that nothing can get in it, like moisture. But plaster will crack with age, and all you have to do is fill in the cracks again, sand it, and reapply the same finish. And tapered edges are for ease of reinforcement of joints with tape and compound. So tapered edges deal more with gypsum board. Photographing is the shadowing of the finished joint areas through the surface decoration. Pitting and composition were nowhere found in the book or in research, and the fire rating for gypsum is tested through the ASTM C840 test to adhere to the fire ratings.